Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So it's that time once again. A new patch is very close to being rolled out onto the live servers, more specifically patch point 6.17. Now this patch seems to be quite big. I mean, there are a lot of changes happening, some of them obviously much bigger than others. So as usual guys, throughout this video I'll be going over all of the major changes that I feel like you should definitely know going into the next patch. Hopefully this will give you all the information you need to know so you can easily transition into the new patch. And at the end of the video, I will be listing what I believe to be are going to be the stronger or OP champions coming into patch 6.17. So if you guys end up enjoying this video or finding it informative or useful or whatever, make sure to hit that like button and also let me know down in the comments which of the changes do you think is going to be the most impactful of patch 6.17. Alright, so there are going to be 8 big changes I'll talk about, but the very first one is going to be a very big change to the point where I'm grouping a bunch of champions into one category. And this is going to be the changes happening to many ADC champions. So first off, we have Ashe. Now Ashe is getting a little bit of nerfs this patch where her Q ability duration has been lowered by 1 second, so from 5 seconds to 4, and on top of this, the damage on her ultimate has been lowered by 50 at rank 1, 25 at rank 2, and back to normal at rank 3. Not the biggest nerfs in the entire world. I mean, I do feel like the Q is maybe a little bit more impactful late game, but the ultimate nerf is more impactful early game. Following this, there are some slight buffs happening to Draven, where the mana cost has been decreased to 100 at all ranks from 120 on his ultimate, on top of the cooldown also being lowered by 10 seconds at every single rank. Also not the biggest thing in the entire world, but this may put a little bit of light back onto Draven and make people remember that, you know what, this guy is actually still an ADC and he's still someone that could be very, very strong. So this might be enough to make people kind of start questioning whether or not Draven is a champion they should be playing. Following this, we have Ezreal. Now this is going to be only to his passive, but it's a pretty decent change. Now his passive will scale up by 10, 12, 14, and 16% increased attack speed per stack at levels 1, 6, 11, and 16 from just 10% at all ranks. This means that Ezreal late game should be essentially just overall much stronger because 16%, 5 stacks of that, so that's essentially 6% more per stack prior to, that's a lot of extra attack speed that he's going to be gaining at late game, so this can definitely help him scale a lot better. Next on the chopping block, we have Jhin, who is going to be receiving some nerfs where the AD ratio on his W has been lowered, but to slightly compensate that, the damage to minions and monsters has been increased by just a measly 10%. Following this, the base damage on his ultimate has been lowered, but the damage increase based on percent health missing on the target has actually been slightly increased. And the final thing is the fact that his tooltip on his ultimate no longer mentions that if you cancel his ultimate early, you get refunded 10% per unused shot, so we're gonna assume that that's gone. All in all, some pretty solid nerfs onto Jhin, arguably probably the best ADC at the very moment. This should definitely bring his power spike down by a bit and put him somewhere maybe in the middle of being a very good ADC, but not OP, but also not very weak. Jinx will be receiving some buffs this patch where the damage ratio on her ultimate overall just has been increased from the minimum and the maximum damage. And I really feel like she's already quite strong, but this will put her even at a better spot, and now her ultimate is going to be extremely deadly and scale like an absolute monster later into the game. Next up we have Sivir, who is receiving some nerfs on this patch, the first of which to her W, where the bounce damage has been reduced by 10% at every single rank. And the passive effect on her ultimate, where it increases the attack speed on her W while it's active, has also been decreased by 10% rank 1, 15 rank 2, and a whole 20% at rank 3. So all in all, Sivir's laning phase and maybe even her mid game should be almost about same, but her late game and just how much she can really bring to a team and just how much damage she can put out in a fight should be slightly less. And last but not least, part of the first big change we're talking about of this patch for all the ADCs is towards Vayne, where she is receiving some buffs to her Q, where the scaling on it has been increased by 20% at rank 5, slowly going up by starting at 5% from rank 2. Vayne did recently get some buffs a couple of patches ago, but apparently it just simply was not enough. So Riot is putting a little bit more emphasis on her Q and making it just an overall better ability, and we're gonna see if this is enough to bring Vayne back into the meta. Alright, now that we got the first big change out of the way for this current patch, let's move on to the more singular champion changes, with the first one being Gangplank. So I feel like I've told you guys numerous amounts of times that I personally believe Gangplank is among the best champions right now and as of the past couple of patches. So finally he is receiving some nerfs. The base HP has been lowered by 40 and his W mana cost has also been increased by 20 at every single rank. So this here is trying to hit his laning phase to try and make him just not have such an easy, I guess, time to get past the laning phase and up to his godlike late game status. And to even further help this, his ultimate's cooldown has been increased by 20 seconds at rank 1 and 10 seconds at rank 2 and back to normal at rank 3, while the damage per wave also being lowered at every single rank, 15 rank 1, 10 rank 2, and only 5 rank 3. So like I said, trying to hit Gangplank's early game, not make him have such an easy time to get to late game, but if he ever does, he should still be pretty godlike. Following this, we also have one of the better junglers as of right now, Gragas, receiving some nerfs. The first one is actually quite big. The cooldown on his E ability has been changed from being 12 seconds at every single rank to 16 seconds at rank 1 and moving down per second per rank down to 12 at rank 5. This obviously affecting his early game and just how much pressure he can have when ganking or even clearing the jungle. But the nerf to his ultimate is what I feel like might be the biggest thing, or I guess the more interesting thing. Gragas' ultimate now has a fixed travel time, so if you were to throw it just pretty much point blank right in front of you, it'll still take 0.55 seconds to actually reach its destination and do its thing. Almost as if you're putting his ultimate in some form of Matrix mode, going in slow motion even though you're throwing it literally right in front of you. So the main thing this is trying to nerf and just, I guess, punish is Gragas whenever he body slams someone in that time that they're still sort of stunned. You can always just instantly throw the ultimate, knock them back, and you really can't do anything about it, but now you can have time to maybe flash or use some ability. So in my opinion, that is what this nerf is directed towards. Is it going to be enough to just simply bring Gragas out of the meta? Maybe not. I mean, he still brings what he does overall to the team, he's still very useful, and his gank potential should still be relatively good. But next is the change that I'm really excited to talk about. Jace, finally receiving some buffs, finally receiving some love. Personally, I actually really like playing this champion. I feel like Jace has a lot of interesting depth to him and he's just an overall really cool champ, so this is going to be very interesting. The buffs are as follows. The E ability in his hammer form, the mana cost has been lowered to 40 at all ranks rather than being only 40 at rank 1 and going all the way up to 90 at rank 5. So this definitely might mean that from now on you might want to max your E ability second rather than your W second. Following this, whenever you switch to hammer form, your next attack will now have 40% bonus AD scaling rather than 40% bonus AP scaling. I mean, honestly, I don't even know why the hell it was 40% AP scaling. That makes pretty much no sense whatsoever. There's just no reason for it to be AP, so the fact that now it's AD means he probably has a lot more potential, a lot more overall damage output, and even his laning phase should be even better because of this, and also the mana cost changes to his E. I think this should definitely put Jace back into the light and make people start picking him up again and realizing that, you know what, this guy is actually very strong. I'm very excited for it. Expect me to start playing him as well because I do love this champion. Overall, Jace looking quite good. Next up, we also have some buffs happening to Orianna's ultimate, where the cooldown has been lowered by 10 seconds at every single rank, and the mana cost has been lowered to 100 at all ranks, all the way up from what it used to be 150 at rank 3. Now, Orianna is known to be a very teamfight oriented champion, and even though I don't feel like these changes might really just flat out propel her back into solo queue and just being absolutely dominant, this is more towards getting her in line for the upcoming Worlds event and just making her much more of a higher pick when it comes to teamfight oriented comps, especially in pre-mates. Or in other words, professional play. So that right there is what I believe the intent is behind Orianna's buffs. Next up, we have some nerfs happening to yet another jungle champion that is arguably the best jungle champion at the very moment, Rek'Sai. Personally, I absolutely despise facing Rek'Sai because the ganking potential is really high with the E ability, and she just feels very hard to stop when she's coming at you and just trying to knock you up and essentially initiate a fight. So Rek'Sai's E ability, especially at the lower ranks, is being increased in cooldown all the way up to 6 extra seconds at rank 1, and her ultimate cooldown has been increased by 30 seconds at every single rank, again, mainly to try and stop her early game pressure and just the crazy amounts of ganks that this champion can do going through all those walls. The second last big change we'll be talking about for this video is towards Riven, a champion we haven't really talked about for a long time because she really hasn't been receiving much love lately. But now her ultimate's damage overall, the minimum and maximum damage, has been increased quite significantly, so definitely expect all those Riven one-trick ponies to finally be back in form, and probably a lot of other players picking her up as well. And the final change I'll talk about for this video is towards Veigar. His passive stacks granted for champion takedowns has been increased to 5. from 3. Not the biggest thing in the entire world, but again, you know, Veigar is a very snowbally champion, and for whatever reason, you don't really see him too often, so maybe this will give people a little bit more incentive to give this guy a whirl and really try him out, because he really is a good champion. So those right there are all the major changes that I wanted to discuss. Now before I end off the video, let's quickly go over the list of the potential OP champions coming into next patch. We're gonna have Jace, Riven, Veigar, Ezreal, and Jinx. Now Veigar, the reason I put him here is because I actually do feel like he's already a good champion, and this is just gonna make people slowly realize that. Ezreal and Jinx because I personally believe they got the best or the biggest buffs of the ADC champions. Riven because it's Riven first of all, and second of all, the buffs she received to her ultimate's damage is actually quite good. And Jace because the changes happening to him as well are also very, very good, and this will definitely put the spotlight back onto him. But all in all, guys, that is about it for this video. I mean, there you have it, all the biggest changes coming to patch 6.17. There was definitely quite a bit of them, so I hope this video wasn't too confusing. But either way, if you did enjoy it, let me know by hitting that like button. Let me know which champion you think will have the biggest impact throughout the next patch. Make sure to check out my other videos as well and subscribe if you haven't. But I truly thank each and every one of you for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one. Peace.